everyone, and welcome back to another movie of the week. And the movie from this week is Palm Springs from 2020. So if you haven't watched it, watch it now. If you're new to a movie of the week, I talk about a movie here. You guys comment below your thoughts. And in 2024, we're doing franchises, reboots, things of those elements. So I wanted to do like 3 time loop movies and kind of compare it and stuff. So we did Groundhog Day from last week. So I'll watch that movie and watch that video do it now. And then this is Palm Springs. So I kind of talked about in my last video that Groundhog Day is like the first like big commercial movie about time loop day. Yes, that's it. And it's something where after that there was kind of like a bloom of movies. And so I remember this one coming out and I felt like, you know, it's kind of something where like there's so many time loop movies. Like, how do you make it new? How do you make it original? And I think this one kind of did something that most time loops movies don't have. And I think that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it here. So I kind of talk about in my last video, also time loop movies have to do with some event or some day. This is just like a wedding. So it has something like that, and I feel like it's kind of interesting to do a time loop with a wedding because, you know, sometimes like that could be such like a great day for some people, like if it's like, you know, the bride or something that's stuck in the time loop, but in this way it's not. And so it's just interesting little details they did where it's like, you know, you could have had the sister, but then they added where she like wakes up every day in the groom's bed. Like it's those elements, and that's why she hates it. Okay, I'm editing this now and apologize for my hair because I just washed my hair. That actually would be such a great idea for a movie, like a time loop movie. Is like the bride like is stuck in a time loop and it's like her wedding day and she's so happy and like she's reliving the day over and over and she's so happy, but then after a while reliving it over and over she gets like not happy because it's like whatever. And so then she realizes over time like her groom, like there's a lot of qualities about him that she doesn't like and all this stuff, and that he's done bad stuff to her. And so in the end, like she decides to say no at the altar, and that is like what breaks the time loop. That'd be such a good idea for a movie. But really the reason I wanted to do this time loop movie is because it's 2 people stuck in the time loop, and you usually have one. I can't think of any other movie where it's like 2 people stuck in the time loop. And so I think that makes it really original, and I bet you they wanted to come up with someone wanted to do a movie where it's a time loop movie where there's 2 people stuck in the time loop, and then also make it kind of like a rom-com, like they fall in love. Because a lot of times these time loop movies, it is a lot of times like a rom-com, like technically Groundhog Day is that. But it's a little bit different because one of them is stuck in the time loop and the other one doesn't. So there's always this contraction element with that. But when you have both of them stuck in the time loop, like what could you do with that? And that's what they did with this movie. And like the first person that got stuck in the time loop, like it doesn't make sense because usually time loop movies, you see them like just start and then they get stuck in the time loop. But it didn't make sense for us to see 2 people get stuck in the time loop. So you started right away where the guy's stuck in the time loop, but it's not, you know, they have small details to make it kind of be like, oh, he kind of knows what's happening. But they don't explicitly say like, I'm stuck in a time loop. So it's something where it's like, you kind of just got to know what the movie's about or little details. And if you don't know what the movie's about, like I'm sure you at least pick up on some things, like just like the dance scene, like he knew everything that was going to happen kind of. Yeah, so we have it where then the second person gets stuck in the time loop. And so also like a lot of times I think in time loop movies, it's kind of unclear like how someone actually gets stuck in the time loop movie. Like Groundhog Day, it's not like he did something to get stuck in it. The next movie we watched, there is also another reason, but a lot of times there is nothing technically special. Maybe it's like a flash of lightning. That's kind of what I did in my time loop movie that I wrote, I think. I don't remember exactly. But this one, there's like some kind of portal that got started because of an earthquake. And so when you go through it, then you're stuck in the time loop. So it's also something where it's not just the 2 of them, and there's this other element. This other guy who got stuck in the time loop, and that's why so it's multiple people actually, but like it's J.K. Simmons, and he's just kind of there as like another character to further along the story. Like I'm sure maybe they wrote it at one point where it didn't have that character, but then somebody was like, why don't we add that in? If multiple people can be stuck in this time loop, why can't we have this other person and add in this other factor? And so that's what they did. But it's something interesting because like it's something where, I mean, we don't know how long. Oh my god, I almost said Jake Peralta. Andy Samberg, I don't even know his character's name, Niles or something. We don't know how long Andy Samberg has been in the time loop, but we think it's probably been a while at this point. And it's kind of something where I think there's not technically 7 stages of grief with being stuck in the time loop, but there's some stages, and I think he probably got to the acceptance stage. I don't know exactly what the stages are or the order, but I think there's at some point an acceptance stage. Yes, that also we kind of saw in the Groundhog movie. So I think Andy Samberg's character was kind of in the acceptance stage, and then this happened with, I don't know, like Sarah, maybe that's her name. I don't know character's name. So she, you know, it's something that now this is so different because it is kind of lonely to be stuck in a time loop. And it's something where like now he's stuck with her and it's like, yeah, you're stuck reliving the same day over and over. But in time loop movie, there's only so much you can do that's different on your own. But when you're with someone else, there's more you can do. And so it's just kind of like this bond that formed over time. But, you know, really like she was suffering the most because of every day she was waking up and being reminded of what happened, what she did, and she was more determined to get out of it than he did because it's something where, you know, he was in the acceptance stage, right? And but then he also kind of fell in love with her and was like, I could be reliving the same day over and over if I was with her, you know. And but then when she kind of went away to do her own thing, you know, he started getting that grief again, that grief where it's like, I can't do this every day now without her, where it's like, beforehand, technically, he did even though she was kind of there, he did every day without her. But now, since he's got to experience her in this way, like he can't do every day without her. But I think it's nice that she was like really determined. And a lot of these movies, it is trying to like, you know, do something like, you know, become a selfless person, do all these things. And she tried that. She did try that. But it's something where it's like, it ended up being like physics. And it's crazy that these movies aren't being more physics. And it kind of makes sense that that works in this way because this technically is some kind of earthquake event. It isn't just like a flash of lightning, which technically that is kind of earthly, I guess, in a way. But like this one is even more. So it makes sense that it's some kind of physics thing. And so it was something that she wanted to get out and he was like, no, why don't we stay here? But then it was just crazy. Why would you want to stay in a time loop? But I don't know, you know, maybe your life sucks and you can just experience the same day and don't have to worry about taxes and life, I don't know, whatever. But he wanted to, you know, be with her, and like that's what kind of the movie was about. And it's like a sweet, good rom-com movie. And yeah, so I think it's like interesting to have two people stuck in a time loop and see how that compares to different time loop movies. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, maybe I am wrong. Maybe there are movies before this because this is 2020. And I also saw a comment online like, oh, I actually was stuck in a time loop because in 2020, you know, you just kind of live the same day over and over again. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was a movie prior to this where two people were stuck in a time loop. Maybe, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's crazy if I'm not wrong that it took so long for this kind of thing to happen because it kind of does change it and it kind of has like a different vibe than the other movies. And I feel like it's more enjoyable and it's something where we get two elements of like, you know, different perspectives being stuck in a time loop, which you don't really get. And it's, you know, sometimes you really do see just kind of the more mindset like she was in, you know, you see those a little bit more than what he was in, or maybe it goes from she to he and like, you know, I'm confusing it a little bit, but you know, it was interesting to see both of those elements and then, you know, a real love story that felt like raw and real and everything. So anyway, it's a very interesting time loop movie and I'm glad we compare it here, and that's what I wanted to do in movie of the week is compare like these different ideas, like the idea of a time loop and how like what you could do with it and everything. Because actually the movie for next week is Edge of Tomorrow from 2014, which when I watched it I was like, whoa, like I didn't know you could do this as a time loop movie. And that's why I wanted to talk about here because it's something where like that never even crossed my mind. I was very amazed about what they could do with a time loop movie because originally when I heard the idea I thought it was like so dumb, but then when you actually see it, it's like actually very, very interesting and how they took that approach with the time loop movie. Anyway, comment below your thoughts about Groundhog Day, Palm Springs, and then watch Edge of Tomorrow from 2014 for next week. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.